Good evening, sim racing fans across the globe and here at home, and welcome to iRacing Live and LSRTV as we kick things off on a Monday night for tonight's running of the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series and the SimVibe Talladega 225 from the biggest track that NASCAR runs and one of the most terrifying tracks I think sometimes that iRacing has to offer because, well, if anything can happen, it probably does, especially in this race. Before we get too far into that, we'll bring you upstairs into the broadcast booth. Good evening, race fans. Jacob Seelman alongside Brian Macklin as we get set for the call of tonight's event. Cisco Scaramouza down in the production trailer. And Brian, I said it, if anything can happen, it just might. So the question is, what are we going to see here tonight at Talladega? Because every year, this race, fall chase race at Talladega for this series, is always the one that we can never quite predict.
Yeah, the fall race is the one we can't predict. With this one, it's a little bit easier to predict. In the fall race, they're racing for the points. They're trying to move into the next round. They're trying not to get knocked out. So certain drivers play it a lot more safe than they are tonight. Tonight, all these drivers are going to be looking for a victory. If you win this race here tonight, you're locked into the chase later on in the season. For those guys that don't have a win yet in this 2016 season, this is a perfect opportunity for them to go out there and try to win this thing and give themselves that spot. There's so many drivers in this field that are decent drivers, but maybe not top 5, top 10 drivers that don't have the opportunities to win on a week-to-week basis that can come here and have a shot at it. So you're going to see a lot of action tonight. I think you're going to see a lot of 2 and maybe 3 wide racing, and you call this place terrifying. I call this place awesome. I love coming to this track. I love watching races at this track. I love being out there on the track. I actually wish I was down there racing with them tonight.
Take a look at the points so far this season, Brian, and we've talked about it's been a battle of 3 teams, and you see large representation of that in our top 10 in points. It's been Boomtown Sim versus Steel Horse versus Aegis, and that's the majority of our top 10 going into what I would call the second third of the regular season now here at Talladega. So the question is, do we see any change from that trend here tonight?
I highly doubt it. You're going to see those 3 teams work together with their team cars and try to control this race. And the guys that aren't a part of that group of drivers are going to have a very hard time. They're going to be trying to battle against several bigger teams that are going to be controlling the draft and trying to control the lines and really try to make it hard for the rest of these guys to get up there. I do think you're going to see some people be able to get up there and mix it up some, but I have a feeling you're going to see those 3 teams end up on top at the end of the night.
Well, let's take a look at our SimVibe starting grid here, or at least the provisional grid. We've got about a minute left, but it looks like most of everybody's taken their laps, Brian. And the front row are the 2 guys I would expect to be there. They're the 2 guys that combined have won basically 50% of the races to start this season. Anthony DeBarro and Scott Eckridge, who between them have dominated the year, are 1-2 in qualifying. Eckridge is coming off 2 wins here in the last 3 weeks. And I love this 70 team because I think they just keep getting better and better and better. And, this has been the story all year. Who's going to get hot and stay hot? And those 2 cars, DeBarro and Eckridge, have done it so far.
Yeah, those 2 guys have been the best all season long, and Anthony DeBarro, he's one of the best at this plate racing thing, so you definitely can't count him out. Starting what looks like he's going to be on the pole is a really good place to start and gives him a chance to really control this race here tonight, and he's got some teammates back there that are going to try to help him out as well.
We're going to send it trackside right now quickly for tonight's national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof
Thanks to Jaden Berkey for that rendition of tonight's national anthem. And as we get set to go, we'll bring you our LSRTV starting grid. Cars rolling off. We talked about the front row moments ago. Anthony DeBarro and Scott Eckridge, P1 and P2 with DeBarro grabbing his third pole of the season. Tim Matthews and Steve Gottschalk on row 2. And how about Sean Boundy, best of the Boomtown cars not named DeBarro? He starts P5 tonight.
Dwayne Vincent's going to start on the outside of that third row in the 6th position. Corbin Hemstreet will start in the 7th position. Ross Cato will be P8. Jose Gonzalez will start P9, and rounding out the top 10, Thomas George.
Next 5, Mike Kelly in the 80 is 11th. Mike Montesi, the 31, starts 12th tonight. Row 7 finds Mitch Rollo and Rich Jetty, former winner at Daytona in this series, with Brennan Mercer on the plate tracks. The Gary Mercer Trucking Chevrolet rounds out the top 15.
Scott Stenzel will start in the 16th position. Matt Lacrosse will be 17th. Greg Evans goes in the 18th position. Adam Blattel is 19th, and 20th goes to Kyle Tarasca. The rest of your starting lineup will show up on your screen momentarily. You can find your favorite drivers here as we get set to go green here at Talladega. Jacob, this is going to be a very exciting race. We have 39 cars in this field tonight. It's sure to be wild. At some point, I expect to see some 3 and maybe even 4 wide racing.
Oh, trust me, I think we're going to say 4 wide more than a few times tonight. And if you're just tuning in now, we're glad you're with us here on iRacing Live and LSR TV. As, again, you get the look as they climb out of 33 degrees of banking off the exit of Turn 4. And the American Childhood Cancer Organization Ford Mustang GT pace car going to ease its way onto pit road. We still got a long way to go to get back to the start-finish line. One though, as the pace car goes away, the field in the hands of DeBarro and Scott Eckridge as they work through the tri-oval. American Ethanol green flag waves, and we are underway from the biggest speedway on the circuit. The SimVibe Talladega 225 takes off to turn number 1, and the pairings start to form. DeBarro, a lonely man out front. He has no help, and they're tandeming behind him. They're going to find him quickly, Brian. He's going to have help from Tim Matthews, but not much else beyond that as they work down the super stretch for the first time tonight.
Anthony DeBarro got a really good start there. He got out to about a 4-car length lead over everybody else, and he really had to kind of drag the brakes going through turns 1 and 2 to get those guys closed back up before they got up to speed. If he held that gap as they got up to full speed, he would have been ran over and probably freight trained towards the back. He's going to hold that inside line, like you just mentioned, though, in front of Tim Matthews. And we're trying to see that outside line come to fruition here in the early stages as the 70 of Scott Eckridge is trying to lead the charge on the outside line. He's dropped back so far here at the beginning of this run. He's already back around about the 5th or 6th position, trying to bring a couple of guys with him out there. That's number 91 of Steve Gottschalk that is right on his back bumper, trying to help him get back up there. He's got a good run going through turns 1 and 2. He's making his way back to the outside of Tim Matthews. He
was trying to find a teammate, was what he was trying to do. Scott Eckridge in the 70. He backed all the way up to his teammate in the 91, Steve Gottschalk, but Gottschalk already has help in the form of another Steel Horse car in the 24 of Thomas George. So the 70 of Eckridge had to jump back forward. He found Dwayne Vincent there on the outside lane. DeBarro and Tim Matthews on the bottom side of the racetrack. Ross Cato and Sean Boundy also down there trying to hold that yellow line. 2 laps in, DeBarro has led them both. But here's your fun fact of the night. Brian, as we come back to the start-finish line to put 2 laps in the books. The guy back around the back end of the top 10, that time by the stripe, he was 8th. Corbin Hemstreet has led more laps between Daytona and Talladega in the last 12 restrictor plate RSR Full Throttle Cup Series races than any other driver. And he has 0 wins to show for it.
Well, that just shows you the nature of this beast. You can lead a lot of laps here, but the only one that's important is the last one, and that's the hardest lap that you're going to have to lead if you're going to win this race, because so many people are going to be coming after you. So many things can happen. The guy that's been pushing you all race long, he can decide he's going to duck out on the last lap and try to take it away from you. And there's really nothing you can do about it as that lead car. You just kind of have to hold your line. You can try to throw a block, but more times than not when you do that, you're going to end up costing yourself a lot more than just the win. You could cost yourself a race car and get caught up in a big wreck. You have to be really careful with that call. As we see Tim Matthews here on the outside, he jumped up off that inside line about a lap ago. He's now pulling Dwayne Vincent, and there's about 10 cars behind him now. They're really getting that outside outside line formed right now, and these guys are working hard on the outside line. He's trying to get up to the door of Anthony DeBarro. I think if he gets a really good push from Dwayne Vincent, he's going to be able to make that move and possibly take this lead away from Anthony DeBarro. He's got a good run here right now going through 3 and 4. He's really starting to pull that outside line around.
We're going on board with the 13 of Dwayne Vincent, who rides just inside the top 5 right now, and the second man in the outside lane trying to shove Tim Matthews, who was the pole sitter back at Daytona, trying to shove him forward and make a run at the lead. No dice, though, right now. And how about that, Brian, for the guys who are running 2nd and 4th right now, Ross Cato and Tim Matthews, that was your front row when we were at Daytona back in February. So we're starting to see the really good plate racers come back to play and really make something happen here. And I'm seeing Jumbling way back in the pack, about 15th. These guys are getting a little crazy. Brennan Mercer made a huge dive to the bottom of the racetrack, as did one car just ahead of him. It looked like maybe the 80 of Mike Kelly.
Yeah, this is where patients are going to start to run thin. You're running out of places to go. You're running out of choices to make because they're 2x2 up here at the front. If you're stuck on the bottom, it's going to be very hard to make a move. If you're on the outside line, you want to jump to that 3rd groove. You want to try to do something to make something happen, but you have to have help. And when you don't have it, you start making aggressive moves. And I think that's what you saw back there. Somebody that was on the outside line, he couldn't make the outside line go where he wanted it to go, so he dropped to the bottom. I think you said that was Brennan Mercer that made that move. And you're going to see that all night long. These guys are going to duck and dive and make moves to try to find their way to the front, and eventually something's going to happen where it's not going to end well for these guys, so they have to be very careful and try not to let that big one happen too soon. It's almost a given, though. You come to Talladega, you know the big one's going to happen. It's just a matter of when and how bad is it going to be. As we have that 34 of Sean Bounty on the inside line, he looked like he was going to make a move to the outside line. He actually moved up about a half a lane and kind of shoved the 54 of Tim Matthews out of line for a moment, but he got back in on the inside line and allowed that outside line to keep rolling here. So right now, though, I'm very surprised to see that 2nd groove has not been able to get up there and challenge Anthony DeBarro better. I really thought with this many cars on that outside line that they would be able to go up there and overtake him. It's proven me wrong here in the early stages of this race. Anthony DeBarro has controlled this thing from the drop of the green flag.
He really has for now, and as they say in these parts, he thunk about it, but it did not pay off, as now you see DeBarro still leading this train. We're 7 laps in when they come to the stripe. Nothing major of note yet. We've got about a 20 or 22 car here lead pack, and then behind them, actually, I guess make it about a 26 car lead pack. And then behind them, you've got everybody from 28th or so on back who's hanging out at the back, just trying not to get collected in anything early. And that's how the tail of the tape is early on at lap number 8. Battle for the lead, and look at DeBarro swing up to get a huge run from the outside lane. On the bottom, though, it's now going to be Ross Cato who's getting that shove from the 34 of Sean Bounty. DeBarro comes back down to block. He's playing both lanes right now, and we've seen it before here at Talladega, Brian. That's a little risky.
Oh, that's extremely risky. That's when things can go wrong in a hurry, because if he times that wrong, if he jumps up to that outside line and the 54 was already to his outside, that's going to get him hooked right into the outside wall. And the same thing if he tries to cut back down to the inside line and the number 12 machine of Ross Cato is already back to the left rear quarter panel of his car, it can end disastrously. You have to take you have to be very careful when you're making those moves as the race leader. I've been in this situation where you're trying to control the lines. What he's doing at this point is he knows that number 12 machine has been pushing him since the drop of the green flag. He's probably got a very hot motor, so when that outside line gets a run and he can take advantage of their draft and their push, he's going to jump up there and allow that 12 to get some clean air and let that motor cool down some, and at the same time it's going to help him keep the lead because he's going to have the momentum from the outside line pushing him down the straightaways, and then he can drop back down in front of the 12 when they get to the corner. And he did it perfectly, but you have to be very careful when you're doing that because it can end disastrously very quickly.
9 laps in the books. We've still got a long way to go in this 225-mile race. However, it is 85 laps the distance, so we're not even a fifth of the way through this race. And It already looks like things are getting fun. And how about the move to the outside? Sean Boundy takes a peek upstairs in the 34 Sprite machine. He's going for the runner-up spot to the outside of Ross Cato. Finally decided he needed to make a run at it. Hopped up in front of the 54 of Tim Matthews. And now how about the battle for the lead? Cato trying to make a move with Boundy for the top spot off 4.
DeBarro tried the block. That sends the 12 of Ross Cato out to the outside line. He's going to be forced into the third groove, and he's going to get sent backwards. Anthony DeBarro tried to come up and block him. He actually did it exactly like I said. He got up in there and hit the 12 car because he was not clear, and that sent the 12 all the way to the back. He's probably going to drop all the way back around the 20th, maybe 25th position before this thing is all said and done. Meanwhile, back at the front, here comes Sean Boundy on the outside line with a big push from the 54 of Tim Matthews. They're trying to overtake Anthony DeBarro and see if they can't take the race lead away from him for the first time tonight. Sean Boundy looks like he's going to get clear. He goes to the bottom, and we have a new leader through 3 and 4.
And their teammates keep in mind too. Boundy joining Boomtown Sim after the 87 of Christopher Hurlow parted ways with the team a couple of races ago. DeBarro's already got his wins for the year. Boundy is one who, if he could get in the top 30, tonight would be his night to try and break into the chase, Brian. We know him as a restrictor plate draft specialist. He excels at these races, and I like this move to try and get the 34 out front. I have a feeling this may have been planned as soon as it was convenient to try and get Boundy out there, and I've watched this guy race on plate tracks before. When he gets to the lead at Daytona or Talladega, it is very difficult to wrestle it away from him.
Indeed it is, but I was looking at his car, and actually our producer Cisco Scaramuza was pointing it out as well. He has a little bit of damage to the left front of that car. When the contact happened between Anthony DeBarro and Ross Cato, Sean Boundy was caught up in that a little bit too, and he's got a tiny bit of left front damage that could hurt his car just a little bit. Right now it doesn't appear that it is, but the outside line's really not formed up the way it needs to be to make a charge, so we really can't tell whether or not that is going to affect his car. We'll find out very soon though. If that inside line starts to fade, we're going to know that it's because that car has damage and he's holding that inside line up. So far though, with the outside line not being formed, he's okay and he's in the perfect position. But if these guys start moving, we're really going to find out. Right now, the 69 of Corbin Hemstreet, he's trying to find his way to the front. He started back in the 7th position, and right now he's battling on the outside. He would be scored 4th when they cross the line this next time by if he stays where he's at right now. But how about Jose Gonzalez also in the 26 as he gets a little loose going through the tri-oval. Had a very scary moment, but he's worked his way up inside the top 5 as well, having a very solid night here in the early going.
Going on board with the 26 of Jose Gonzalez inside the top 5, 4th car in the bottom lane right now. Corbin Hemstreet and Tim Matthews have hooked up on the outside trying to make some tracks. They have struggled to be able to do that here early on. Now Hemstreet is starting to move forward a little bit, but there's only so much ground you can make upstairs with only one car right tucked in close behind you. And Corbin's watching his teammates lead this race. He wants to get up there. We know how many laps he's led in these races over the past 3 seasons, and he'd like nothing more than to get towards the front of this field and make something happen. Meanwhile, Sean Boundy, with 14 laps complete at the stripe this time, is your race leader over Anthony DeBarro, Scott Eckridge, Corbin Hemstreet, and Jose Gonzalez, the top 5, with working lap number 15. And we have got 3 wide back in the pack. Scott Stenzel is in the middle of a mess as they work onto the Alabama Gang super stretch. First time tonight we've said 3 wide, and then it's breaking this pack up from about 15th on back.
Yeah, and Scott Stenzel has no help right now. He's in that middle line with no pusher, and he doesn't have anybody directly in front of him to push right now, so he's out there all by himself. Now he's got a little bit of help as the number 88 machine of Kyle Tarasca jumps up into that second groove to try to help him out, and he's trying to make that happen. Meanwhile, back at the front, we have a very intense battle as Corbin Hemstreet has taken the race lead from Sean Boundy, and now Tim Matthews and Dwayne Vincent are out on the outside line trying to make something happen here. But new race leader, the second lead change of the night, Corbin Hemstreet. You talked about it. He's led a ton of laps here at Daytona and at Talladega, and he's doing it once again. He's back out front.
Yes, he is, and with 16 laps going on the board when they get back to the stripe, that changes the game a little bit because you have 3 teammates lined up nose to tail on the bottom side of the racetrack. Corbin Hemstreet leads from Sean Boundy and Anthony DeBarro with Tim Matthews in the mix along with the defending series champion Dwayne Vincent. We are going to step aside for a moment but come back with a lot more ahead. Still more than 60 laps to go here at the Talladega Super Speedway, and you're watching iRacing Live and LSRTV coverage of the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series presented by Gary Mercer Trucking and SimVibe by Sim Experience. Stay with us.
Trucking has always been a part of me. It started years ago when my dad and granddad were hauling vegetables to market in Liverpool. The family immigrated to Canada in the late 60s and settled near Alliston, Ontario. I bought my first truck in 1982 and Mercer Trucking was born. Today, Mercer Trucking has over 50 trucks and terminals in Toronto and Los Angeles. Our storage facilities at both terminals can handle any size of distribution needs throughout North America. We service the continental U.S., including Hawaii and Alaska. We run over 120,000 miles per month and some of the best equipment on the road today. We specialize in less than truckload shipments, show freight, we do rush team service deliveries, and haul your refrigerated or heated product. Our regular team service from Canada to California is second to none, and our staff and drivers are among the best in the business. I'm proud of our people and what they can achieve. Trucking is in my blood, it's my livelihood, and it's what I do best.
Welcome back to iRacing Live and LSRTV, the voice of sim racing coverage of the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series presented by Gary Mercer Trucking and SimVibe by Sim Experience. When we went away, it was a trio of Boomtown Sim cars out in front led by Corbin Hemstreet. Now, Tim Matthews, the man on top of the board in the University of Kentucky Wildcats Chevrolet. Matthews, who was the Daytona pole sitter, led a lot of laps in the first half of that race and got collected in a late race accident up out in front, and we know he's been good on the plate tracks. As we bring you back upstairs, Jacob Seelman and Brian Macklin in the broadcast booth, and with Matthews out in front, this inside lane has started to regain some steam, Brian. They're able to pull out from that outside line just a little bit. You know, we talk about it a lot when we come to these plate races. Yeah, the line that gets a lot of momentum is often the line that has a lot of really fast cars in it, especially one out front, because if you've got a really fast car leading a line, it can oftentimes pull that entire line forward because of the way the draft works, though these Boomtown guys want to leave Matthews out to dry, and they just did, all three to the high lane of the racetrack. They're trying to go for the top spot in turn 3.
Yeah, teammates working together, no help at all. They're going to make this move, and they're going to get all three team cars clear as they come off turn 4. Anthony DeBarro is the last one around, and as they work to the trioval, they're all three clear back to the bottom, and Corbin Hemstreet's going to take back the lead yet again here as they come to lap 23. And back to your point about which line gets the momentum, a lot of it also has to do with commitment. You cannot make a line work like we're seeing here with just 3 cars. That's Dwayne Vincent in the 13, and then you have the number 24 machine of Thomas George, and then you have the number 23 of Greg Evans. Those 3 cars are not going to be able to do it by themselves. When you have about 20 cars lined up on the inside line, you have to have commitment, and you have to have multiple cars in order to make it work. When you have these teammates like we see with the Boomtown guys at the front working together, you have got to make friends, and you have got to have more than just a couple of cars if you're going to make that outside line work.
That's exactly right, and I'm impressed that the Boomtown cars were able to orchestrate that move. Whoa! Hold on through the trioval, 4 wide underneath the yellow line. Scott Eckridge almost sent this pack into a tailspin. Mike Kelly's down there, they're 4 wide in 1.
Chad Cole got a little bit of contact there. That sent him way up the racetrack and almost caused the big one here at Talladega, but everybody did an incredible job hanging on to it, and we are going to stay green here at the Talladega Superspeedway, but a very scary moment for about half the field right there. That could have been huge if something had happened right there, but these guys did an absolutely amazing job hanging on to it. There is a little bit of a separation now. The 26 of Jose Gonzalez, he's about 5 car lengths back from the main pack. I don't think he's going to lose the draft. I think he's going to be sucked back up there, but they did lose a little bit of momentum, and they're going to have to work hard to get back up there right now. Greg Evans is the last car in that front group right now, but that second group is closing fast. Meanwhile, back at the front, Sean Boundy is trying to take the lead away from Corbin Hemstreet. He jumped out to the outside line. He's got help from Tim Matthews and Dwayne Vincent, and as they work off turn 2, he's going to have a big run down the back straightaway. I think you're going to see teammates working together here to get him back out front. You're probably going to see him dive to the bottom, and there he goes back to the bottom of the track and back to the lead, Sean Boundy.
Yeah, that was a big move for Boundy, too. And, I'm a little nervous about this 34 being out front because of the damage he got from the contact right at the start of this race, Brian. You and I have been talking about it. I don't know that that's helping that inside line right now. If anything, I think it's actually hurting him a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is hurting him to an extent, but the problem, again, is that there's no commitment to the outside line. You have a handful of drivers that are willing to go up there and stay up there with Tim Matthews, with Dwayne Vincent, with Thomas George. Now we see Jose Gonzalez in the 26 machine out there, but you're just not seeing enough cars getting up there to let the outside line form up to where they can actually overtake these Boomtown guys and have an advantage over them. And so for right now, it's not an issue with Sean Boundy being out front. If you get 10 to 15 cars lined up on the outside line and they can actually get it formed up and have a lot more momentum, that's when you're going to see these guys struggle, and that's when you're not going to want to have that 34 machine out front.
Yeah, we are now 25 laps in of 85, so we're just barely past quarter distance, and I think it's interesting right now that the top 2 cars, both from Boomtown Sim, neither are in on the season just yet. Sean Boundy leading Corbin Hemstreet, DeBarro in 3rd. The 4th member of this Boomtown brigade has not been able to make any progress towards the front tonight, Brian. Started 13th, rides in the 19th position right now. Mitch Rollo in the 96, and I'm really surprised by that.
Well, I think the big problem is he doesn't have his teammates back there to help him, and that's a difficult thing. When you have all 3 of your other teammates at the front and you're trying to make these moves in the back, it's very difficult to do because you don't have that friend to go with you, that friend to make those moves with you. And back here where he's at, there's nobody on the outside line. If he made that move to the outside line, he'd pretty much be by himself, as we actually see the 87 of Christopher Hurlow jump out there with no help, and you're going to see him very quickly drop backwards because of that move. You can't just jump up there like that, and that makes it very difficult to make any progress. You have to wait for something to happen to jumble these guys up and to open up a couple of lanes to where he can make those moves. And you also have to think about the fact that green flag pit stops could be coming here very shortly, within the next 10 to 15 laps. If it stays green, that's an opportunity for him to try to make up some time and maybe get with his teammates when they come back out from green flag pit stops.
We're working 28 laps right now of this race. For the record, Boomtown Sim cars have led all but 5 of them between 3 different drivers. The only other leader for 5 laps from 17 to 21 tonight was Tim Matthews. The other 3, Boundy, Hemstreet, and DeBarro, have led all the remaining laps so far tonight. But that tandem on the outside, if they can ever get things working, Tim Matthews and Dwayne Vincent are 2 very potent restrictor plate racers, and I think they could upset the apple cart here. If they could ever both get clear, they might be able to control this race a little bit, as you see Corbin get really loose on the bottom of the racetrack.
Yeah, they are doing all this work on the outside line, and they're doing an incredible job for just 2 cars being able to get up there and race with that 34 and the 69. And I think a lot of this has to do with the damage on that 34 machine. He's holding that inside line up just enough to where 2 cars can actually maintain up there on the outside line. The other issue you have is that the 69 appears that he might be running a little hot, because he keeps trying to search for air down the straightaways. He's trying to duck out and get some air on the nose of that car. That tells me that engine is probably running pretty hot. You see it again. Here comes Tim Matthews clear to the race lead. He's going to leave Dwayne Vincent out there, and Dwayne Vincent's going to get dropped like a rock here, as he's probably going to drop back to no better than 5th. He might be able to get in line in front of the 91 of Steve Gottschalk. Right now does not look like he's going to take that opportunity. Doesn't look like it's going to be there anymore for him as they work down the back straightaway.
Yeah, that's a tough break for Dwayne, who's not going to have a lot of help, but here come the teammates again. Back to the outside of the racetrack. Boundy shoved by Hemstreet, shoved by DeBarro. They're trying to, you know what, they keep move, and it seems to work every time. And how about pit stops? Underway here, coming to lap number 30.
Yeah, pit stops a lot sooner than I thought, and a handful of drivers, probably 10 to 15 drivers on pit road. Tim Matthews is going to lead them down. That's all the Steel Horse cars. Brennan Mercer is involved in that group as well. All these drivers coming to pit road to get fuel. Very interested to see if any of them elect to take tires here. In the past, with the Cup car at Daytona and Talladega, tires were an issue. I see on the Tim Matthews machine, he's taking left side tires only. He's now sitting there waiting for fuel, He's down and away. He's going to be the first one off pit road. He has no help right now. Nobody else has started rolling at all. So the next car off is Brennan Mercer, about 20 to 25 car lengths behind him. That's going to be a very big disadvantage for the 54 machine.
Everybody bailing out here on lap number 31 as they come to pit road. All the Boomtown cars leading another huge brigade. Lead change is going to go to Jimmy North at the stripe, but all your leaders right here, Brian, on pit road.
Yeah, another round of green flag pit stops. Anthony DeBarro, Sean Boundy, Corbin Hemstreet all sliding into the box. The 69 slides through. He's going to have to back up. He's still trying to get backed up into his box. He's finally now able to get service. He's going to take right side tires. He's trying to get fuel, but he's going to lose a ton of time here on pit road. The 80 Mike Kelly's going to be the first one off pit road. Anthony DeBarro is going to be the next one off. The 7 of Nelson Rivera is going to actually beat Anthony DeBarro out. But we have another similar situation here, as Mike Kelly has got a little bit of an advantage over the rest of the field, about 20 to 25 car lengths, just like we saw with Tim Matthews. So when they get up to speed, if he doesn't have any drafting help, he's going to get swallowed up.
To pit road, the former race leader Jimmy North looks like he's had a collision, a huge amount of front end damage to the machine. I'm trying to get a look at the replay now, but Jimmy, with a ton of damage, led a big pack of cars down, and unfortunately now limping to his pit stall, as it looks like calamity struck just for a moment.
Yeah, calamity struck. Jose Gonzalez was not aware that Jimmy North was coming to pit road, and when Jimmy started to check up to come to pit road, Jose Gonzalez got into the back of him, sent him around into the inside wall, and destroyed his car and ruined his night. There was no caution because Jimmy North did not spin on the racing surface, so he did not bring out the caution. So we stay green here at the Talladega Superspeedway, caution-free through the first 34 laps of this event. We still have a handful of drivers that have not come to pit road, but almost all of your front runners have been on pit road at this point for their, what we believe will be first of at least 2 rounds of pit stops here. And when it's all said and done, I think you're going to see the same guys at the front with the Boomtown guys controlling this race.
With the exception, of course, of Corbin Hemstreet, who, Brian, as we documented, lost a massive amount of time because it took him 3 tries of getting backed up before he was in his pit box.
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate thing about pitting under green here at Talladega or at Daytona. A millisecond can cost you a ton on the track. Anything that happens on pit road, it is magnified by so much on the track, because if you lose just a half a second, more than likely you're going to lose the draft, which is going to cost you tons of time and could cost you a lap.
Trouble, turn number 2, caution flag flies, 367.20, almost 3 complete rotations. As the caution is out, it's David Washington in the 98 machine that gets turned in the middle of the banking in turn number 2 by teammate Daniel Eberhardt, and that's going to throw a whole new wrinkle into this ball game as we go yellow with 35 laps complete.
Yeah, that was a very weird accident. It looked like a bumper hook kind of issue. The number 98 got pushed by the number 90 machine of Daniel Eberhardt, and he just got on that left rear just a little bit, and it just turned the 98 of David Washington around. It doesn't appear that there's any damage on either of those machines, so while the caution is out, I think they're very fortunate to have come out of this with a clean race car for both of those drivers. It's not very often you can say you have a single car spin at Talladega that doesn't involve anybody else and that leaves both or that car without any damage at all.
That puts us under caution, though, with 36 laps going to be in the books when the leaders get back to the start-finish line. Rich Jetty, your leader, over Brian Harvey, Jose Gonzalez, Mike Montesi, and Doug Roth. That will cycle through and likely put the 9 of Anthony DeBarro back out in front once pit stops conclude here at Talladega. So we're going to step aside and come back with more from the 2.66-mile behemoth right after this. From Talladega Superspeedway, you're watching iRacing Live and LSRTV, the voice of sim racing. Welcome back to iRacing Live and LSRTV, the voice of sim racing, coverage of the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series presented by Gary Mercer Trucking and SimVibe by Sim Experience here tonight on LSRTV is brought to you by Gary Mercer Trucking. Established in 1982, GMTI has the experience and expertise that your freight deserves, with their specialty being in over-the-road, less-than-load, and full truckload freight services between Ontario, Canada, and all points in the United States. For more information, visit gmercer.com and by SimVibe, by Sim Experience, a premier motion simulator manufacturer with expertise in electronics, engineering, manufacturing, and software development, whose products are utilized worldwide in driver training facilities, home simulation centers, and race driver development programs across the nation. Visit sim.experience.com for more. And as we bring you back topside into the broadcast booth, Jacob Seelman and Brian Macklin along for the call, as we are under caution for the first time tonight with going to be 38 of 85 laps complete, Brian. And most of this race has been dominated by drivers from Boomtown Sim. And it's interesting the way all of this is going to shake out, because the lead was such for Rich Jetty and Brian Harvey, who were 1-2 when that caution came out, that by the time the field was able to get cycled around and where they crossed the start-finish line out leaving pit road, Jetty and Harvey actually cycle through and only lose 3 spots. They drop from 1-2 to 4 and 5 because they had that big of a lead when the caution flag came out. It's one of those unusual things that you don't normally see anywhere except at Talladega, but that was a huge break for those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. You look at where they qualified. Rich Jetty qualified 14th and Brian Harvey qualified 25th. And I never really saw either one of them get up there and try to challenge for a top 10 or a top 5 position. And now they're up there in the top 5. This worked out perfectly for them. This also works out nicely for the Boomtown guys, with the exception of Corbin Hemstreet, although it does allow him to get caught up and be back in the draft and be able to work with his other teammate, Mitch Rollo. But it worked out for Sean Bounty and Anthony DeBarro, as they're going to be back on the front row here. They're going to have an opportunity to control this race yet again. We are going to have at least one more round of pit stops, and the one thing I do want to point out, while it was only a handful of laps, it will make a difference if we have to do this under green. When they come back to pit road, when they have to fill that car up, Anthony DeBarro and Sean Bounty and the rest of the field that pitted under green, they're going to have to put more gas in their car than Rich Jetty and Brian Harvey, and those handful of drivers that managed to stay out just a little bit longer, they might actually have the advantage on pit road if this thing happens to go green again.
It's Talladega, Brian. Get real.
I mean, it is Talladega, but we just ran 30-some laps green flag, and it could definitely happen, and that's just a scenario that would play out. I was talking about it before the caution. A matter of seconds on pit road can be huge on the racetrack. If they can save a second or two on pit road with fuel, that can give them the advantage and could win them the race.
We're going to find out what's going to happen here. We're going to go green flag with 39 of 85 laps complete, which means we will have 46 laps to go. We're approaching the halfway point here in about 4 more laps, but it's going to be Anthony DeBarro and Sean Bounty, the 2 Boomtown Sim teammates, who lead the field back to green as the pace car eases back onto pit road, and the field going to work through the tri-oval. They're waiting to see that American Ethanol green flag, and through the tri-oval, 1 car loose and trying to hang on behind the 7 of Nelson Rivera. That looks like maybe the 21 of Matt Lacrosse that got way squirrely, and everything gets a little jumbled off the start. DeBarro gets away, Bounty drops into second, and a very chaotic restart sees the top 7, top 8 now go single file.
Yeah, that all started when the 7 of Nelson Rivera missed a gear trying to get up to speed. He checked up the entire inside line. That made everybody have to swerve to go around him, and fortunately for everybody, they were able to get through that cleanly without any wreck. We saw quite a few guys having an issue there, but we all sorted it out, and we're back up front racing. Anthony DeBarro, Sean Bounty managed to work it out where they control the inside line. You got Ross Cato. Remember, he was up here at the front of the pack at the beginning of this race, and he got sideswiped by Anthony DeBarro and got sent to the back. He'd all of a sudden found his way back up inside the top 5. He's running in 3rd. And look at Doug Roth back there in that 43 machine. He qualified 28th, and all of a sudden here he is in 4th.
Keep in mind, last October at Talladega, actually the last 2 races at Talladega, we have had a first-time winner. Brian, last fall it was Kevin Linden, and in the spring it was, I believe, Paul Nicholas Cooper last year in the spring that won this race on a wild exchange, and just one of those events where you never know exactly what's going to happen until it's done. This race breeds well for first-time winners like a Cato, like a Doug Roth, Mike Kelly even, all up there trying to fight for space. We got a battle for the lead. Cato jumped topside. He's found the 43 of Doug Roth, and they're on the move across the stripe.
Yeah, big run as they came to the stripe. Now as they work down into turns 1 and 2, Ross Cato's trying to make that outside line work. He's got help from the 43 of Doug Roth, the 36 of Rich Jetty, and the 21 of Matt Lacrosse. 4 cars on the outside line. Got a couple more trying to jump up there as well as they work down the super stretch here at Talladega Super Speedway. Ross Cato with a big run down the back straightaway. He's ahead of Anthony DeBarro for the moment. Is he going to take that opportunity to get to the bottom? No, he's not going to be able to get clear to the bottom, but he is really pulling that outside line around, and that line is starting to form up. There's about 6 cars on the outside line with more trying to jump up there, so it's just a matter of time before we see this outside line really start to move.
Yeah, and I think you're going to see it happen sooner rather than later, but the question is, when does it happen? In the meantime, the battle for the lead has not quit. It has not changed, however. DeBarro's still out in front of Cato, but only just. How about the blue car, the Panasonic machine, up inside the top 5? A fantastic run for Mike Kelly going now. He was mired in mid-pack during the first run. He's up inside, 3rd car on the inside lane, trying to make a move and get towards the front. He's got a great car, and look at Cato almost get clear. He's trying to come down and not going to make it work in turn 3.
He tried to make that move to the inside line. He thought better of it because he knew it wasn't going to work. Now we're 3 wide. Doug Roth jumps to the outside line. He thought he was going to have help, but it's not going to happen. Rich Jetty jumps to the middle line to push the 12 of Ross Cato. He couldn't. We're hearing that the 43 was a little too hot and he couldn't pass, and he was blinking on the lights on the oil and water, so he had to back out or he was going to have engine issues. So that's what we're seeing there with the 43 of Doug Roth. But that does allow Rich Jetty now, as here comes Anthony DeBarro up to block the outside line. He's working the lines yet again, like we saw him do earlier on in the race. He's on the outside line right now. As they get down into turn 3, he dives to the bottom, back in front of his teammate Sean Boundy, controlling the lines. They're going to work past the lap car of Chad Cole here.
Oh,
a big wreck!
Turn 3, 1 car up and over the 31 of Mike Montesi. It's the big one at Talladega. Caution flag flies on lap 34, and that's half the field in turn 3.
Huge wreck. That all started that was just absolutely incredible. That's what happens here at Talladega when you have these guys pushing hard, trying to make something happen. That all started around the 31 of Mike Montesi. These guys were just trying to make moves, and they were beating and banging and pushing hard, and it just didn't work out. The 04 actually hooked somebody on the outside line down. He hooked the 87 of Christopher Hurlow down into the 31 of Mike Montesi. That's what started it all, and then from there it was just people along for the ride. I saw Brennan Mercer was caught up in it. There was just so many drivers. Like you said, about half the field.
I think more than that, Brian. I'm only seeing about 10 cars that have even gotten through without any serious damage right now.
Yeah, that was humongous. I'm going to try to get a car count here in just a moment so we can have an official car count, but easily half the field, as you said, probably more than that. So many cars tore up, and that is the nature of the beast here at Talladega Super Speedway. It was just one of those deals where you have nowhere to go. When something like that starts happening, you're doing 200 miles an hour, and you can't just stop on a dime. So when they start wrecking, all you can really do is just hang on and hope that you get through cleanly. And unfortunately, more times than not, you're not going to make it through cleanly. There's just not much you can do. If you're hanging back and you have time to react to it, you can. But if you're right on top of it, you're pretty much a sitting duck.
I'm counting right now, Brian, at least, unofficially, I'm counting 20, I want to say maybe 25 cars.
Yeah, that was a humongous wreck that took out a lot of very fast cars, and that could have been so much worse, though. There was a lot of drivers that were hanging back there, able to get through it cleanly. Just one of those deals, though, and it's just kind of how it goes. We did have a couple of pit stops, though, we need to talk about. These guys came in and got 4 fresh tires and fuel. A couple of these guys elected to take just fuel only. So this takes the fuel equation out now, because with 40 laps to go, I don't think you're going to see anybody else have to come back to pit road. They should be good to go to the end. So there shouldn't be any issues with fuel for the rest of this race. It's just going to be get out there and try to get everything you can.
We're going to step aside here under caution for the second time. The big one striking, but Anthony DeBarro still out in front. From Talladega Super Speedway, you're watching the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series presented by Gary Mercer Trucking and SimVibe by Sim Experience right here on iRacing Live and LSRTV, the voice of sim racing.
Trucking has always been a part of me. It started years ago when my dad and granddad were hauling vegetables to market in Liverpool. The family immigrated to Canada in the late 60s and settled near Alliston, Ontario. I bought my first truck in 1982 and Mercer Trucking was born. Today, Mercer Trucking has over 50 trucks in terminals in Toronto and Los Angeles. Our storage facilities at both terminals can handle any size of distribution needs throughout North America. We service the continental U.S., including Hawaii and Alaska. We run over 120,000 miles per month and some of the best equipment on the road today. We specialize in less than truckload shipments, show freight, we do rush team service deliveries, and haul your refrigerated or heated product. Our regular team service from Canada to California is second to none, and our staff and drivers are among the best in the business. I'm proud of our people and what they can achieve. Trucking is in my blood, it's my livelihood, and it's what I do best.
Welcome back to iRacing Live and LSRTV. Wrapping up our second caution of the night in the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series at Talladega Super Speedway, the SimVibe Talladega 225. Jacob Seelman and Brian Macklin along for the ride with you in the broadcast booth. Cisco Scaramouza down in the production trailer. And gosh, Brian, I think what we could do and have a better chance of success at is to talk about the drivers who don't have damage after the big one in turn 4 into the tri-oval than the guys that do have damage, because by my count, we had about 25 cars involved in some form or fashion in this accident.
Yeah, it would certainly be easier to talk about the guys that didn't get involved in it, which was only basically the guys up inside the top 10 or so. The rest of them have a little bit of damage or a significant amount of damage. But Cisco was talking during the commercial break that he doesn't think we're done wrecking. There's still enough cars out there where we can have a little bit more chaos and calamity here, so it's going to be very interesting. They're trying to do it on the pace lap. There's some issues going on during this pace lap here. The 80 was having some issues. Not really sure what was going on there, but we're about to go back green here, and I actually kind of have to agree with Cisco. I don't think we're done wrecking yet.
Oh, don't say that. I was hoping for a clean run. When we go back racing, because we didn't get a chance to have our midway race break before that caution flag came out, so we will handle that here in just a moment once we go back green and start to establish the field here. But the pace car going to ease its way onto pit road. Anthony DeBarro and Sean Bounty, the two teammates, I talked to them before we are coming to the green here. They have a plan, and you may see it implemented here in just a couple of minutes. Green flag back in the air. DeBarro gets away. Bounty trying to get down. Mike Kelly slams the door. Sean Bounty with no help on the outside lane. Mike Kelly up the inside lane in the Panasonic Chevrolet to second. He wants more down the backstretch.
Down the back straightaway, Sean Bounty's going to try to lead that outside line. This is the first time pretty much all night that we have not seen the Boomtown cars working together, but they're still controlling this race as they are 1-2 on the front row here as they work off into turns 3 and 4. Sean Bounty trying to get that big push from the 66 of Brian Harvey, trying to make that outside line work. He's got enough help out there. Will the 66 stay committed to the back of the 34? That's the big question. You got to believe these drivers want to see the Boomtown cars split up. If they can split those two drivers up, they might actually be able to have a chance to get up there and battle for the lead themselves. So at some point you got to see these guys try to do something to split that Boomtown gang up.
Keep an eye on the 96 of Mitch Rollo. He wants to get in the party and play now, and he's trying to make some moves forward, and this is where it gets really dicey right now, folks, as Bounty finds a hole in third, but that is not where he wants to be. He's kind of, Brian, he's got to wait right now, because the next thing to do here, if you're the 34, you basically got to wait until Mike Kelly steps to the outside to try and make a run for the lead. It's kind of all you can do at this point.
Yeah, you say that, and then here comes the 34 of Sean Bounty with help from the 96 of Mitch Rollo to the outside line as they work through the trial. They're going to make a charge for the lead. Anthony DeBarro is going to lead it at the stripe by about a half a nose. But here come two of the Boomtown cars trying to get up there to make yet again a three-way Boomtown gang at the front. They're going to have a big head of steam down this back straightaway, and most likely are going to be able to clear Anthony DeBarro. I fully expect to see those two drivers drop to the bottom before they get to turns 3 and 4. It looks like that's exactly what they're going to do. Here they go. Now we have Boomtown Sim 1, 2, 3 as they work down into turns 3.
And I love the new colors, the Haas automation scheme on the 96 of Mitch Rollo. That is a new design for that team and car tonight here at Talladega, and it's paying off. It looks fast. It is fast. Rollo shoving Bounty to the front of the field. We're working 51 this time, 34 laps to go from Talladega.
34 laps to go, and the big story of the night's going to be who can break up the Boomtown Sim gang. At the front, we actually see about a 5-car breakaway, make it 6-car breakaway as that front group has kind of spread out a little bit. Ross Cato in the number 12 machine not able to get the run down the straightaway here to draft up to these guys. Not really sure what's going on there, but they're just not doing a very good job keeping up. Now they're starting to catch back up, and now we are single file with the exception of the 66 of Brian Harvey. He got stuck out there on the outside line, so he's going to go backwards here. You're going to have to go back about 15 cars to find another car on the outside line that's going to be able to pick him up, and that's the 98 of David Washington, who coincidentally was involved in our first caution. He's up there trying to work his way back up towards the front. He's right around the 15th position right now, 13th as they cross the stripe, so he's starting to inch his way up into this mix.
The problem is they've still got to break up the party at the front, led by Sean Bounty, trailed by Mitch Rollo and Anthony DeBarro. And DeBarro told me under the caution period, Brian, not that I'm surprised by this, their plan tonight was to get a third driver into the win column, whether it was Bounty or whether it was Corbin. They needed to make those two drivers, got into the win column and locked themselves into the chase. Well, when Corbin went out in that last caution, it made the decision pretty simple. Find a way to get the 34 to the front. They have done that, and the plate track specialist leads strong with 53 laps complete at the stripe. He leads for now the third time tonight in this race, and it's a dominant performance on the bottom lane. Nobody can get closer than fourth.
Yeah, these guys are doing a great job controlling this race all night long, but we're getting to the point where you're going to see these guys getting more aggressive. You're going to see that outside line really start to push harder to try to make something happen. Here comes Mitch Rollo to the outside. He jumps up in front of the 66 of Brian Harvey. He saw the run coming. He saw the momentum. He jumps to the outside line. He's going to try to take the lead as they work through turns 3 and 4, and it looks like for the first time today, Mitch Rollo is going to go to the point. He's going to have a big head of steam as they go through the tribal. He jumps down in front of his teammate Sean Boundy, and as they come to the line, Mitch Rollo is going to try to hold on, but it looks like Brian Harvey's going to maybe get it at the stripe. Who was it? It was Brian Harvey.
A dead heat at the start-finish line, credited by about 5/10 thousandths of a second. Brian Harvey to the top of the board on lap 54. He leads his first lap of the season here at Talladega Superspeedway, and a big push from David Washington. Brian, he was the first caution in this race. Now he's battling for the lead.
Yeah, absolutely. Incredible rebound for the number 98. He's got help behind him. He's got Christopher Hurlow up there. He's got a handful of others. These guys have been hanging in the back all day long, and here they are inside 30 laps to go. They have made their way to the front. They have made their presence known, and they're going to try to mix it up and try to take this lead. That time by, for the first time today, Mitch Rollo is going to take the lead and actually lead at the line, so he's going to get a bonus point for leading here at Talladega Superspeedway as well. But the outside line is really starting to form up. You have about 15 cars out there on the outside line trying to make that line work. Got a big head of steam. You see these guys really trying to make something happen. They know they're going to have to work hard if they're going to break up those Boomtown guys and take this thing away from them.
Yeah, now all 4 Boomtown Sim drivers have led in this race tonight. 3 of them, the 3 cars that are remaining in the race, run in the top 3 positions right now. How about the odd man out, though? Third man in the outside lane. Christopher Hurlow in the 87, Brian, he was on that team to start the season. He struck out solo midway through the first segment. He and the team were not agreeing on some terms, and Hurlow said it's time to go solo. How sweet would it be if he were able to make a run and potentially beat those guys at their own game tonight?
Well, you got to believe that's on his agenda to try to get up there and say, hey, I'm good enough to win without you guys. But we have another lead change. Sean Boundy jumped to the outside line to take the lead. Now he's back down to the inside in front of his teammate. These guys are doing everything they can to try to control this race. But here comes Brian Harvey on the outside line with yet another big push from the 98 of David Washington, trying to get up there to see if he can't take the lead away from Mitch Rollo. Got a little sideways going through the tri-oval, had to gather it up, but does a great job hanging on to it. But that could have been a very disastrous moment for this entire field. These guys are trying so hard to take this thing away from the Boomtown guys. They are getting more and more aggressive, and it's just a matter of time before we see yet another big one here at Talladega.
Brian, as long as those 3 guys stay lined up like they are, no matter what order it is on the bottom lane of the racetrack, is there any way that anybody can take this win away from them except to get a run on the outside coming to the start-finish line on the last lap?
They can, but it's going to be extremely difficult. The problem is you already know, because we've seen it all race long, these 3 drivers are going to stay together. They're going to work together. They're not going to split up from each other. If you can't split them up yourselves, it's going to be very difficult to do anything with them. That's your only hope, is to try to find a way to get those 3 cars split up. If they stay committed to the bottom line and they stay together, I don't know that you're ever going to be able to take this thing fully away from them, other than, like you said, trying to make that move on the last lap into the tri-oval and try to beat them to the line. I just don't see you being able to have enough momentum and enough speed to get more than 1 car clear to break these guys out and take them out of the control.
And we saw what happened earlier in the night when you would get 1 car clear down ahead of the other 3. They would just go to the outside the very next lap and leave that solo car out to dry and take it right back. So they've got a plan for every scenario, and they're trying to stick to it right now. They're sticking to it because they want to get that number 34, Sean Boundy, to victory lane here tonight. It would be his first win. It would be the third consecutive Talladega race in Full Throttle Cup that we've had a first-time winner in the series. And I want to amend what I said earlier. It was Paul Nicholas Cooper who pushed his teammate Pedro Mojica to that first career win in this race last May. And tonight, it may be teammates working to get a rookie into victory lane as well. Again, Boundy's looking good. He finally, that last caution flag pit stop that these guys had, Brian, he was able to get a little bit of repair work done to that machine. It looks pretty solid. I think he's going to be okay to go to the end here.
Yeah, I was looking at that myself and watching what was happening when he's been the lead car, and it doesn't look like that's hurting them that badly at all. I think they did a good job patching that left front fender up and that left side up, and I think he's going to be all right. He's done a pretty good job staying up there. They did a really good job hanging on when they had the damage and keeping themselves in contention to be in the position they're in right now in the closing stages of this race. Here comes Mitch Rollo again. That almost ended badly as the 96 of Mitch Rollo jumped up high and almost caused a wreck. But Mitch Rollo is going to make it back down to the bottom and is going to get clear for the race lead yet again. That was an opportunity for the 66 of Brian Harvey. He actually could have split him and sent him to the outside line, but he chose to stay behind the 96. And in that situation, if I'm the driver in the number 66 machine, I would have tried to send that 96 to the back and make him have to work for it. That was an opportunity that was missed.
It was, and now with what are we down to? We're down to 23 laps to go. When they get back to the start-finish line, it is going to get dicier and dicier here, and there's not, you really don't have a lot of friends. The only teammates that are really available to work together right now, Brian, are the 96, the 34, and the 9. Everybody else is pretty much on an island by themselves right now, or they've got a teammate, but they're not close enough to be able to make something happen. So these three out front have a big advantage, but with 23 laps to go, still a lot of time to try and get something done. We're going to go LSRTV non-stop with 23 laps to go, so you won't miss a thing. Mitch Rollo, Sean Boundy, Anthony DeBarro lead at Talladega. From Talladega Super Speedway, you're watching iRacing Live and LSRTV, the voice of sim racing. Welcome back to iRacing Live and LSRTV. You saw it on nonstop. A huge shuffle in the pack has left Anthony DeBarro, the new leader, at lap 64, and the Boomtown cars are all split up now. Mitch Rollo has found Sean Boundy in the middle of the pack, but DeBarro leads from Mike Kelly, Tim Matthews, Matt Lacrosse, and Christopher Hurlow inside the top 5. And now the problem is DeBarro has absolutely no friends. How long do these guys wait, Brian, before they go say, hey, we want the lead and we want it now?
Well, and the problem is, you said it exactly, he has no friends. He has been showing all day that he is committed to working with his teammates, and those three drivers have left every single person that has worked with them or has been around them all race long. So you better believe Mike Kelly, Matt Lacrosse, these guys are not going to work with him. If they get clear and they can make something happen, they're going to try to go around him. You see Matt Lacrosse jump to the outside line. He's going to try to make that outside line work. He has a little bit of help from the 54 of Tim Matthews, and you better believe Tim Matthews Matthews didn't forget what happened to him each time he took the lead away from those Boomtown cars. Here comes Mike Kelly, though, to the outside. He's going to take advantage of the outside line. It is officially a free-for-all at the front. These guys are going to do everything they can to try to shuffle that 9 as far back as possible.
Oh, yeah, they can. Game on, boys. It's time for a showdown at Talladega. DeBarro leads it. His new draft in help on the bottom is the 99 of Stefan Marinak. Up top, Mike Kelly with help from Matt Lacrosse as they work into the tri-oval. Once again, DeBarro trying to lead the lap. Mike Kelly with a big run up the outside. It is not going to happen that time by the stripe. 13 1/1000's the difference, but Kelly with a huge run into the banking in turn 1 has the advantage. Now it's wheel-to-wheel off 2.
Wheel-to-wheel off turn 2. He's going to have the momentum as they work down this very long back straightaway, trying to get that run down the back straightaway to get clear of Anthony DeBarro. He's going to need a little bit better push if he's going to make that happen. But these guys are working so hard. They saw this opportunity open up. They know they have to capitalize here in the closing stages of this race. They have a chance to steal this thing away from the cars that have dominated all day long, and Mike Kelly's trying to do everything he can to do just that with help from Matt Lacrosse and Tim Matthews, Christopher Hurlow, Rich Jetty, all those drivers on the outside line trying to make something happen at the stripe yet again. It's going to be Mike Kelly that time by about a nose. Just barely edges them out as it's his first lap led all day, and he's going to finally get to lead one and get some bonus points. Now he's got to see if he can get clear to the bottom.
That's the key, and this is where it gets crazy. DeBarro swings to the top side to pick up Mike Kelly, leaves Stefan Marinak on the bottom of the racetrack. That top lane has really started to form up well right now, Brian, and I see that as being where the advantage is at this point.
Yeah, and Anthony DeBarro, while that worked for him temporarily, look at what's happening right now. He got a gap between himself and the 99 machine, and as they work off turn 4, the advantage is going to go to Mike Kelly and Matt Lacrosse. They had the momentum. They had the head of steam. Anthony DeBarro is going to edge back at the line. Anthony DeBarro just barely leads there, but that could have ended very badly for DeBarro. He had a big gap between himself and the 99 of Stefan Marinak, and if those guys on the outside line could have gotten a little bit better run, they could have shuffled him back several positions there, so he got very lucky that that worked out the way it did for him. The outside line has kind of faded here. There's only 2 cars up there on the outside line right now in the number 80 of Mike Kelly and the 21 of Matt Lacrosse. They're going to have to get formed back up. Here comes Marinak, though, on the outside line. He's going to go for the lead.
The short track guy on a super speedway. How about this stat? In the last 15 laps, we've had 8 lead changes between 5 different drivers. We are not done yet. This time, 69 complete. DeBarro still leads it, but it's getting dicey up at the front of the field. New man in second, the guy that was involved in the very first caution. David Washington's come to play at Talladega.
Yeah, he has come to play, and he is looking at that the back bumper of the number 9 machine, thinking about when he's going to make his move, how he's going to make his move, and if it's going to work out the way he wants it to. He has got so many things going through his head right now. He's got the 80 of Mike Kelly behind him. He's got the 54 of Tim Matthews. They're battling through some lap traffic. Almost have an accident here trying to work their way through lap traffic. Very scary moment back in the middle of the pack. That kind of is going to slow everything down back there. Fortunately, no wreck, no caution. We're going to stay green. And so we go back to the front here. David Washington is trying to make something happen. He looks to the outside as they go off into turn 1, but not able to make anything happen right now. He doesn't know if he's going to have help when he jumps out there, so he's going to be very careful when he makes that move.
It's going to be tight, Brian. Word from the pit area is we're about 2.5 laps to the good at the rate we're running, so it's going to be tight. These cars are not going to be happy at the tail end of this race, but I think we're going to be all right. How about the top lane? Tim Matthews is back to play with help from Stefan Marinak, but they're pretty lonely up top. Not a lot of help, only 2 cars, and now all of a sudden it's a 9-car lead draft here at Talladega with 14 laps to go this time.
14 laps to go at the line. David Washington is pushing on the back bumper of Anthony DeBarro as hard as he can. And to go back to your note about the fuel, I can promise you that as a driver, they're not thinking about fuel. They're thinking about just trying to get to the checkered flag. The crew chief is doing all the thinking when it comes to the fuel. And if there's an issue, they'll take care of it. Here comes David Washington, moves to the outside line, going to try to challenge Anthony DeBarro for the race lead. He's got help from the 87 of Christopher Hurlow. Christopher Hurlow, like you said earlier, left Boomtown several weeks ago trying to get up there and say, hey, I can do this without you guys. I'm going to get up here and try to win this race and make a point. He is trying to do everything he can, but here comes David Washington with a good run through the tri-oval. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to take the lead away, but he's got a lot of help behind him. He's going to have the advantage as they head towards turn 1.
Yeah, Anthony DeBarro has led this race the last several laps in succession, but now it's starting to get very interesting up in front. David Washington's got a teammate coming on the bottom, and look at this. They're going to leave Anthony DeBarro out to dry on the bottom side of the racetrack. Everybody, they shoveled him to the middle of the racetrack, and it's game on now with 12 laps to go. New leader David Washington to the bottom of the racetrack takes the lead. Mike Kelly to second in turn 3.
No help for the 9 of Anthony DeBarro. He squeezes his way back into the inside line. He just barely made that position happen. He did not have the room to do it, but he took the room to get down on the inside line. But for the first time today, we do not see the Boomtown train controlling this race. David Washington at the point, and Anthony DeBarro is no longer going to be on defense. He's going to be on offense if he's going to have a shot to win this race. He has been out front controlling this thing all day long, but now with no help and no teammates, he's going to have to try to figure it out. He's going to jump up in front of his old teammate, Christopher Hurlow, as they go down the back straightaway. He's going to see if they can't work together and still make something happen. Here comes Mike Kelly now, going to jump up in front of him, trying to take this thing away. Now we have teammates on the bottom with David Washington in the 98 and Joseph Tice in the 25.
That could be the move that seals the win for Aegis Motorsports. I'm not convinced it's done yet, but that's very dangerous, putting those two on the bottom lane with able to help each other out. The problem is, though, you got a strong pusher in Anthony DeBarro. He's a strong leader, too. He's trying to get Mike Kelly up there towards the point here. He's got Christopher Hurlow a few cars back. No help there. Washington on the bottom. Tice on the bottom. Up high, it's Mike Kelly and Anthony DeBarro down the Alabama Gang super stretch.
Trying to do everything he can to push the 80 of Mike Kelly to the race lead. Anthony DeBarro is now trying to work as hard as he can to get back to the point, but he's not going to be able to do it right now. David Washington and Joseph Tice control this race. It's a group of teammates, but it's a different group of teammates than what we're used to here today at Talladega. And we're hearing that Ross Cato is pretty good friends with those two drivers, and we expect to see him possibly work with those guys. So really, you could have 3 teammates essentially on the bottom working together. Right now, though, that outside line is not working. We do have teammates starting to work back together. Here comes Sean Boundy. Here comes Mitch Rollo. Anthony DeBarro has his 2 teammates behind him, so now things could get crazy here at the front.
The band is back together again for Boomtown, and Corbin Himstreet's up on the pit box now. He's got to be loving this. I'm sure 10 laps ago he thought maybe there wasn't a chance that this was going to work. Now they found their way once again. DeBarro, Boundy, Rollo, they're back there in 6th, 7th, and 8th. Up front, Aegis runs 1-2. Dave Washington, Joseph Tice, this time by 9 laps to go at Talladega. Nobody making a move yet.
Where did Chad Cole come from? He was a lap down about 20 laps ago, and now he sits up inside the top 5, trying to battle up there. Yeah, Chad Cole is up there inside the top 5. He's trying to do something here to see if he can't get a win. It's been a while since we've seen him win here in the Full Throttle Cup Series. You know he'd like to see. I do want to take a moment to say that the 80 of Mike Kelly split these 2 Boomtown cars away from Anthony DeBarro. Sean Boundy's now on the outside line with no help. He's going in the wrong direction.
I don't know where, Brian, I'm with you. 30 laps ago, Chad Cole had a connection problem, and he dropped 1 lap, if not 2. The cautions actually helped him out with a lucky dog to survive, get back on the lead lap, and he is in the top 5. I had to do a double take a minute ago. I thought he was still down at least one lap. He's in this ball game with a shot to maybe go to victory lane. The problem is you're running out of laps to do it. When we get back to the line, it's 7 laps to go. If anybody's going to make a move, you got to make a move at some point. Washington leads Tice. If you're Ross Cato, how long do you wait before you go, Brian?
You know, I don't think you can wait as long as you'd like. Chad Cole coming to pit road, though. He's on his way to pit road. Gotta wonder, you were talking about the fuel situation, if perhaps he's low on fuel. Hearing he took the wave around on that last caution, which could contribute to the fact that he might have been low on gas. So Chad Cole, while we were just talking about him, looks like his chances of winning this race are over. But back to what you were saying about Ross Cato. Actually, we'll get back to that. Here comes Doug Roth on the outside line. He jumps up in front of the 99 of Stefan Marinak, trying to make something happen. This is getting crazy up here at the front. You see Doug Roth. This is an opportunity for him to win a race. We don't typically get to talk about him, but he could get up here and have a shot to win it. He's battling side by side for the lead with David Washington as they come to turns 3 and 4.
Doug Roth won last season's Outlaw Truck Series opener at Daytona International Speedway. Check that, 2 seasons ago. Look at this, 3 wide for the lead. How about Joseph Tice leaving his teammate out to dry? 3 wide at the front of the field. Lead change to Tice on the run as we come down to the finish of this one. 79 complete, 6 to go in 2.
Got car in the wall. 87 to Christopher Hurlow is around. Big wreck off turn 2. That's another big one here at the Talladega Super Speedway. This could be the race. We might get a 1-lap dash. That all started with the 87 of Christopher Hurlow. It looked like he started to move to the outside line, then decided he was going to go back to the bottom. And when he made that move, he wasn't clear of the 80 of Mike Kelly, and he got hooked, turned around, and from there we saw melee ensue with... it looks like the other half of the field that wasn't caught up in the first one, they were caught up in this one.
So contact between the 87 of Hurlow and I believe the 80, you said, Brian, of Mike Kelly. Piles in most of the rest of the field, and by my count, we will green and white together, guys, for a 1-lap dash. This is not over.
Yeah, there is a very strong possibility this thing's not over. The one thing we have to look at, though, is that there is some lap cars on the track that could extend this caution. It's a waiting game here to try to see what happens here. But right now, Joseph Tice is your race leader. The issue here is they have not caught the leader either, so that is probably going to seal this thing. I don't think we're going to go back green personally, but we're going to have to sit here and wait and see what happens.
So right now, Joseph Tice is your leader. Ross Cato second, Doug Roth in third, Dave Washington and Anthony DeBarro are the top 5. Sean Boundy was in that crash, as was Kevin Linden, Christopher Hurlow. Chad Cole had been on pit road, so he was clear of that. Nick Silver, I think, was in this. Scott Simley, Greg Evans, Bobby Terrell. Oh, boy. Yeah, that was the rest. That was pretty much the rest of the field that wasn't in the first crash, Brian.
Yeah, that's what happens when you come to Talladega and you get into the closing stages of this race. These guys knew what was on the line, an opportunity to win and seal your spot in the chase later on this year, and these guys were doing everything they could to try to get it. Doug Roth had an opportunity to win. He took it. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's going to work out for him. He's got a lot of left front damage here, so even if we get to go back green, I don't see him being able to maintain. But just not... Okay, I'm hearing maybe it's an issue on my end. I see damage on his car, but it appears he may not have any damage at the time being. But it's just one of those things. You're at Talladega, you're racing really hard, you're trying to get everything you can, and unfortunately, this is what happens when you start going for it. They were 3 wide, they were racing as hard as they could, and craziness just happened.
All right, Brian, so here's my question to you now. If we go back green and have a 1-lap dash, what's the strategy and who do you take?
Well, if we have a one-lap dash, you've got to give the favor to the number 25 of Joseph Tice. He's going to have the race lead. He's going to have control. They're going to have a very hard time doing anything because in that one lap, they're barely going to get back up to speed. However, if these guys decide they want to try to hang him out, if they want to try to make something happen and go around him, then it's anyone's ballgame because what we just saw to create this mess, we could see all over again.
All right, so we're going to reset this. It's going to be 3 laps to go at the line this time. I mean, DeBarro's got a shot at this, but I would sooner think that if this stacks up right, Brian, you may see the 9 of DeBarro try to give as big a shove as he can to the STP Chevy of Doug Roth. You know, Roth is one of those guys. Roth and Cato both are the nice guys, the stories that you'd like to see maybe get to victory lane. Tice has never won in this series either, but we know that Aegis team has been a power team all year long. You know, we know they're going to be in contention every week. I like these little stories, the Catos, the Roths of this field that always seem to find a way into contention in the closing laps. And, you know, if anybody, Doug Roth has been at this and in this series a long time. I'd like to see him have a shot at this win.
Yeah, absolutely. This is an opportunity, and we just got word they are 2 to green, and we're going to have a 1-lap shootout. So this thing is not over. You were right, and I was wrong. We are going to have a 1-lap dash, and all hell's about to break loose here at Talladega. We have seen a lot of craziness, but now we're going to have 1 lap, and these guys are going to be giving it their all to try to take this thing and get the victory and lock themselves into the chase later on.
Coming to 1 to go this time, and we just heard over the radio, Brian, Joseph Tice is worried out of his mind right now because he knows they can work for him or they can work against him to try and win this race. And I can promise you, anybody not in the 25 car is going to be working against him.
Oh, and I've been in his position where you know you're coming to a 1-lap shootout here at Talladega where anything can happen, and you know that there's people behind you that are going to take their chances to go after it. You don't have a teammate directly behind you. David Washington's back in the 4th position, so you're not going to be lined up with your teammate. You're going to have hungry guys behind you that want to try to go for the win. I absolutely can feel his pain and feel his nerves right now. This is a horrible situation to be in, but you have to also just keep in mind that if you hold your line, you're only going to have 1 lap. These guys have got to get up to speed before anything can happen. So if he gets through the gears good, he gets up to speed good, and he gets down the back straightaway cleanly, he's going to have a pretty good shot here.
All right, Brian, I got to ask you, who are you taking?
I'm going to stick with Joseph Tice. He's done a good job all night long. He stayed out of trouble all night long. He appeared at the front when it mattered the most, and I think he's going to hang on and get his win tonight.
I'm going to go different. I'm going to go with the guy who's going to be pushed by his teammate on this restart. I'm going to take the 12 of Ross Cato. Ross had a great qualifying run, couldn't capitalize on it at Daytona. I'd like to see that Stars and Stripes special get to victory lane in the 12, and I think he may find a way to do it here on this final lap. If you've hung in with us all night long, thank you, race fans, because you're about to see a major show here on iRacing Live and LSRTV. 84 laps, and it all comes down to the final one here in the SimVibe Talladega 225. We'll reset the running order through the front 4 rows. Joseph Tice leads it. Ross Cato 2nd. Doug Roth is 3rd. Dave Washington 4th. Anthony DeBarro and Stefan Marinac on row 3. Mitch Rollo and Jose Gonzalez on row 4. Mike Kelly, Sean Casto, first time we've said his name all night, round out the top 10 ahead of Thomas George and Douglas Wyatt. So there's your first 6 rows. I think it's going to come out of the top 6 if anybody's going to have a shot to win it. The pace car for the final time tonight is going to ease onto the safety of pit road. As soon as we cross that stripe, we will not see the caution flag again. Whatever happens, they will race it out. Tice, Cato, Roth, Washington to the green flag. Final lap through the triangle. Green flag in the air. We're underway.
As they work to turn one, everybody's trying to get through the gears. Everybody's trying to figure out what they're going to do. Ross Cato has no help from behind. Doug Roth all over the back bumper of Joseph Tice as they work through turns 1 and 2. He's going to try to get clear at that 12 so he can try to make a move as they come off turn 2. Here comes Anthony DeBarro back up here trying to get into the mix. There's a wreck in the back, no caution. Mike Kelly is around. It looks like Thomas George is with him, but we're staying green here. Here comes Doug Roth. Will he make his move, and when will he go?
He's got to wait into turn 3. You got to wait till the final moment here. Roth, if you're going to try to do it, it's got to be through the tri-oval as we work off turn 4 for the final time. Joseph Tice, your leader. Here comes Roth to the outside lane with help from DeBarro. Doug Roth trying to become a first-time winner through the tri-oval for the final time at the line. Doug Roth wins at Talladega.
Absolutely incredible finish. Doug Roth with the push from Anthony DeBarro gets the run, gets the win, and he's in the chase here in 2016. He doesn't have to worry about it for the rest of the year. He's locked into the chase. What an incredible story for that number 43 machine. This is the type of stories we love to talk about here at Talladega. Anybody can have a shot to win, and that's what we saw here tonight. Doug Roth going to capitalize and get his first victory here at Talladega.
First career Full Throttle Cup Series win for Doug Roth. He got a huge side slam on the cool-down lap. I think that was the 99 of Stefan Marinak. These are the kinds of stories that, as we say in this series, dreams are made of. And for Doug Roth now, he gets the opportunity to come around and celebrate a hard-earned victory in the most unbelievable of circumstances. The STP colors back to victory, a winner at Talladega. Have you ever?
Oh, yeah, have you ever is exactly right. Absolutely incredible. That was awesome for Doug Roth, and he's on the front stretch. He's doing his burnouts. He's going to celebrate like no other. You better believe that he is going to burn it down here tonight at Talladega. Absolutely incredible. Just an awesome race. I have to say, this was a really good race from start to finish. This was one of the most exciting Talladega races I have watched in a very long time, and these guys did not disappoint at all here tonight.
No, they didn't. It was a battle of first-time winners coming to the line. Roth comes out victorious, and we'll hear from the entire rundown after this on iRacing Live and LSRTV. Doug Roth, a winner at Talladega, back with the post-race show in a moment.
Trucking has always been a part of me. It started years ago when my dad and granddad were hauling vegetables to market in Liverpool. The family immigrated to Canada in the late 60s and settled near Alliston, Ontario. I bought my first truck in 1982 and Mercer Trucking was born. Today, Mercer Trucking has over 50 trucks in terminals in Toronto and Los Angeles. Our storage facilities at both terminals can handle any size of distribution needs throughout North America. We service the continental U.S., including Hawaii and Alaska. We run over 120,000 miles per month and some of the best equipment on the road today. We specialize in less than truckload shipments, show freight, we do rush team service deliveries, and haul your refrigerated or heated product. Our regular team service from Canada to California is second to none, and our staff and drivers are among the best in the business. I'm proud of our people and what they can achieve. Trucking is in my blood, it's my livelihood, and it's what I do best.
Welcome back to iRacing Live and LSRTV, the voice of sim racing. The post-race show underway for the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series, presented by Gary Mercer Trucking and SimVibe by Sim Experience. And we'll bring you through the full field rundown after a third straight Brian Macklin first-time winner to kick off the action at Talladega. This track for this series has been first-time winners the last year and a half. Tonight, it's Doug Roth in a big way.
Yeah, absolutely. That is just, it's the storybook ending for these guys. You said it. This is a track that breeds first-time winners. It's done so the last 3 times here at Talladega, and you're probably going to continue to see that story. But I think the big story of the night was the Boomtown guys trying to control this race. They did such a good job all night long, but the other drivers, they knew what they were up to, and when it all shook down at the end, they were able to separate those 3 Boomtown cars and make it to where they had to fend for themselves. And once they got those 3 cars split up, they were able to make it where it was anybody's game and anybody had a chance to win. And that's what created the exciting and incredible finish that we had here at the end.
And we'll take a look at our iRacing full field rundown right now. Doug Roth, a winner at Talladega by 11 one-thousandths of a second over Joseph Tice, who was also gunning to become a first-time winner. Anthony DeBarro, third, the pusher to Doug Roth's victory lane celebration. Dave Washington was fourth. Fifth was Stefan Marinak. Mitch Rollo rebounds to sixth. Ross Cato restarted on the front row, shuffled back to seventh in a 7-car gaggle at the end of it. Douglas Wyatt, career best in Full Throttle Cup competition, comes up eighth. Sean Casto was ninth, and Nick Silver, his teammate, rounds out the top 10.
Matt Lacrosse finishes in the 11th position here tonight. Rich Jetty, after having a chance at the front when he stayed out early on, he rebounds or falls back and finishes in the 12th position. Chad Cole was a lap down, was up towards the front, and then had to pit because he was out of gas. He finishes in the 13th position. Jose Gonzalez will finish 14th. Daniel Eberhardt will get 15th. Tim Matthews spent most of his night at the front but was caught up in that big wreck. He's going to finish 16th. Mike Kelly finishes 17th along with Thomas George in the 18th position. Those guys spun on the last lap going down the back straightaway. They hit the inside wall pretty hard, and they finished as the last 2 cars on the lead lap here tonight. Adam Blattel finishes 19th, and Carl Shedd rounds out your top 20.
Yeah, Shedd was the Aegis driver that really wasn't able to make a run in the closing stages, ending up a lap down as he did. Scott Eckridge, 21st. Steve Gottschalk, 22nd. Kevin Linden, last fall's Talladega winner, collected in one of the late race big ones. He was 23rd. Chris Hurlow was 24th. Scott Simley, 25th. Greg Evans, 26th. Bobby Terrell, 27th. Sean Boundy, 28th. Nelson Rivera, 29th. And 30th, Jimmy North.
Scott Stenzel finishes in the 31st position. 32nd goes to Brian Harvey. Kyle Tarasca is 33rd. Dwayne Vincent, our defending series champion, he's going to finish 34th tonight. Not the night he was looking for. Rodney Perry finishes 35th. Mike Montesi is 36th. Brennan Mercer finishes 37th. Corbin Hemstreet, one of those Boomtown guys that tried to dominate early on, he got caught up in a wreck, finishes 38th. And Jason Lester finishes 39th. That's a look at your full field rundown. And now, Jacob Seelman, I'm looking forward to hearing this interview. I know you're down in Victory Lane going to have a lot of fun with Doug Roth.
Yeah, I will, and do want to thank our partners at iRacing for a look at our final full field results, for a look at all possibilities in sim racing that are brought to you by iRacing. Visit www.iracing.com to sign up today. Victory Lane, Gatorade Victory Lane, the place to be, though, now as the party has begun. Doug Roth, finally a winner in RSR Full Throttle Cup Series competition. You've been doing this a while, Doug. You've been here almost since the inception of this series. It's taken a lot of races. Does the reality match the dream of winning one of these things?
Jacob, it certainly does, man. I am beyond words. I mean, you watch the NASCAR guys, and it's like, you watch Matt DiBenedetto, do his 5th or 6th place finish, whatever it was, and how happy and elated he was. And I've been a part of RSR since the beginning, and this is, I've won a couple of RSR events, but this is my first Full Throttle Cup win. And man, call me Carl Edwards, and I'll do backflips off the car, man. It's fantastic.
I know that last lap, we were talking about it before the green flag dropped, that you were going to need a pusher. I mean, you restarted third and you had to find a way to get to the outside lane if you were going to have a prayer at winning this race. Talk me through the moves you made on that last lap to get to the outside, and then what you were thinking when you saw, oh, I've got the dominant car of this race on my back bumper pushing me. We might have a shot at this.
Yeah, I mean, basically coming to the restart there, I actually was in contact with Joseph Spotter, just trying to find out when he was going, because I told him, I said, I can at least commit to being your partner to at least the backstretch, which I stayed true to. So, and then once we got to the backstretch, I knew it wouldn't be too long until the outside came up, for that last push, and I figured, it's either now or never. So I went to the outside of Joseph, and once I saw Anthony just kind of peek up behind me for that moment, I'm like, oh man, if he comes up with me, I might have a really good shot of it. And fortunately, he I think he was a little bit hesitant about which car to go with, but I'm very fortunate, and I couldn't have done it without Anthony pushing me there at the very end to kind of just edge out Joseph. So it was a really exciting finish, and hopefully it was as good on the broadcast as it was actually in the race there.
It was tremendous. 11 1/1000ths of a second, the official margin of victory. And this is something else that we've never been able to say for you since the inception of this format. Doug, you're in the chase for 2016, and I know this is a big moment for you and, for this entire Hippies Paint Shop team. You guys have worked together the last couple of years as an organization and never been the top team in this league, but you've always been there. And I have to imagine that's one of the things that really has to make this win feel good for you guys, is because you stuck with it. And now not only do you have a win, but you get to race for a championship come September.
Yeah, it's huge for HPS Motorsports for sure. Myself, Scott, Brian, and Hippie, we're always doing our best, and we are one of the smaller, smaller budget teams, I guess, if you will. And just the talent that races in this league. I mean, there's some outstanding drivers, and I'm not. I don't hold myself in those same calibers as the former champions like the Vincents and the Coles and some of the new guys that are really good. But we're very consistent. We're always improving, and tonight was just kind of the top of the mountain for us, and we're only going to improve as a team as well. Me and my teammates, we're hoping to get even more wins and more top 5, top 10 finishes.
I know there's probably a long list of people that you want to thank for this one, Doug. I'll give you the space because it's been a while since we've had you on the podium even, let alone be able to talk from victory lane. Who makes it happen for you in the 43 camp?
I appreciate Jacob. First of all, I got to thank my mom. My mom watches religiously every week. She's my biggest fan. Mom, this one's for you. Finally got a win. And happy Mother's Day to my mom. Told her yesterday, of course, but to all the other the moms, a little belated there. Hippies Paint Shop for all your paint shop needs for iRacing cars. He does all my cars. Of course, I've been a big Richard Petty fan all my life, and so I stay true to the STP colors, as y'all can tell. My teammates for always encouraging me and giving me tips. Hippie, Brian, Scott, and we have some affiliates too. That race in other leagues. Bobby Terrell comes to mind, and just really the whole league. I mean, not only for as happy as I was to finally get this win on Monday night. The congratulations from all the other drivers. I could tell that they were happy for me as well. And that means a lot to me, that I do have the respect out here, same respect I have for these guys. So, and finally, you guys. I mean, you guys have been with us, again, from the beginning. You guys put on an awesome show, week in, week out. There is no other broadcast that can hold a candle in the wind compared to you guys. I mean, you guys do a fantastic job, and appreciate the support and the professionalism that you guys provide every week.
We appreciate it, Doug. And, you mentioned Hippie. We got to give a shout-out to him as well. Douglas Wyatt started 38th on a provisional, and you guys put him in the top 8 at the finish of this race.
Yeah, he's improving as well. I mean, we're all, like I said, we're all in the same boat, and Hippie keeps on improving as well. The more experience that he gets out here, and plate tracks. I mean, he's one of the ringers for a plate track. He's really good at them. He knows high, low, everything else. So honestly, I mean, it's not a big surprise that he finished 8th. I mean, he could have won just as easily as I did, I believe. But it's definitely good to see our teammates do well tonight.
Doug Roth, a first-time winner at Talladega Super Speedway. Doug, I know you're going to savor this moment for a long time. Congratulations again. We're looking forward to seeing you here next time out.
Whew, thank you so much, man. Appreciate it. All right.
I'm going to throw it down to pit road, Brian. I believe you caught up. I know he's a little dejected, but Joseph Tice, man, he had it all the way until that last moment through the tryout.
Yeah, so close, yet so far away. That's the story down here in the 25 camp. Joseph, you were so close there at the end. You came up just a couple hundred yards short. Take us through those closing laps for you, trying to come home and try to get this victory, but coming up just a little short.
Yeah, I know how Martin Truex feels for sure. I was just trying to work the lines there before that caution came out, and I rode the high line from like 20th all the way up to the top 10 or so, and then I moved to the bottom when I felt the top line kind of ran out of gas, and I was just kind of working my way through and wound up me and Dave got 1-2, and then I got around him, and then the caution came out, and I didn't know really what to do. I couldn't decide if I wanted to start where I wanted to start, but at 43, he pushed me to the back stretch and got me away from the top line, and then I knew I had to worry about him, and I tried my best to, block as much as I felt I could in turn 3, but just coming off of turn 4, I saw Dave getting right back up on me. I was hoping he would give me the shot that would give me enough, and I think if this would have been Daytona, I might would have won, but darn Talladega, just that darn start-finish line moved.
Yeah, absolutely incredible there at the end. Unfortunately for you, it didn't work out for you with a victory, but it will help you in the point standings. You came into tonight 22nd in the points. You're going to gain several positions after tonight's second place finish. That's going to get you very close to being within that range of making the chase. What can we expect out of the number 25 camp trying to get into the chase in the coming weeks? Obviously, you still have a very long season to go before the chase begins, so you have plenty of time to try to get another victory. What can we expect out of the 25 car?
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to do my best. I knew the short track run, the last 3 races, I knew wouldn't be my strong suit, and it showed. I had terrible finish in those 3 races, so I couldn't wait to get those behind me. But, Dega I knew would be good. Dover next week, I feel pretty good about. I feel pretty good about the next run of 3 to 6 races, and I definitely want to make the chase, and I know this really helps me because I was getting a little farther out on the points. So just got to do my best from here on out. Can't really have any bad finishes, and tonight really helps. I just need a whole lot more like this.
Okay, Joseph, I'm going to put you in a situation here. Hit the rewind button. We're back off turn 4 coming to the checker flag. What could you have done differently to try to hold off Doug Roth and try to get that victory?
I don't know. I mean, short of kind of door checking him, I guess. And I don't like to race like that. Like I said, I just saw Dave coming at me on the bottom, and so I tucked right back in front of him, hoping his shot would be enough. But I just wanted a good finish, and I really wanted the win. But I mean, second's the best I've had all season, and the best I've had in a month probably. So I'm not tore up about a second place. This is definitely momentum building to the next couple races.
Well, hopefully it works out for you. Obviously, a second place is a good way to get that momentum going. Before we let you go here today, just want to give you an opportunity to say thank you to your sponsors and say hello to any friends or family that might be watching here tonight. Who makes it happen for you on the number 25 machine?
I got to thank Aegis Motorsports for all that they do for us. Julio Tizzato, the team owner, he got us together, and I really thank him for giving me a ride. Got to thank my teammates, Carl, Dave, Daniel. We all push each other to try to do our best each and every week, and I know they've really elevated me. I hope the same can be said about me, but I don't know. I got to thank my spotter, Trevor. He kind of keeps me cool most nights. I got to thank my wife for giving me 3 hours on Monday night to come do this. This is a lot of fun. She takes care of the kids while I do this. So, and RSR for putting on the league, and you guys for putting on the broadcast.
All right, well, thank you, Joseph. You had a good run here tonight. Unfortunately, comes up just a little bit short, but second place, nothing to hang your head for. Good luck, and we hope to catch up with you again next week at Dover.
All right, thanks, guys.
That was driver number 25, Joseph Tice. He finishes second here tonight at Talladega, just a little bit short. And I think the next person, Jacob, that you're about to speak to can feel the same way. He led a lot of laps here tonight. His team led a lot of laps here tonight, but unfortunately they don't get the job done. You've caught up with third place finisher Anthony DeBarro.
Yeah, Anthony, boy, you led so many laps in the middle stage of this race, and it all went haywire about 12 laps to go was when you officially lost the lead, but I think really it went haywire about 9 laps before that, on 64 with about 21 to go, when you, Mitch, and Boundy all got split up there 3 wide on the front of this field. And I know you probably figured the field was going to try to work to get you guys broken up, but that felt like the moment that you lost control of this race. Take me back and talk me through. Was there anything you guys could have done differently to stay together or get back together a little sooner than you did, or sooner than you did late in the race there?
No, this is. I'm surprised we were able to stay up there for that long with this league with some of the best drivers on the sim. So they finally figured out our little games and trying to stay on the bottom, cycle that second car back to the front, and keep that car from overheating. And we finally got shuffled out of there. And I was able to hold on a little longer, but I mean, I wish I should have just stayed on the bottom and not try to go up and block. And I got put in the middle. But I mean, anytime you come out of a restrictor plate track with a third place finish, lead the most laps, win the pole, and put on a good show for the fans, I'll take that any day.
I know it was a fun race for us to watch. I'm sure it was crazy behind the wheel for you guys, and you had a very dominant car all night long, Anthony. I mean, it looked like you could about put it anywhere you wanted, and this was a strong run again. You guys, we talk about Boomtown being good everywhere, but what is it about these plate tracks? I mean, you guys have just about perfected, it seems like, the art of working the draft and working as a team to be able to play the air and play the circumstances exactly how you need them to.
It's funny. Where each of us are in our own are pretty good at plate tracks. I know if I speak for myself, I do not like plate racing. I mean, it's just something. It's the name of the game. It's what you got to do, and I focus a lot on qualifying because I think if you're in the front, it's the best place to be out of the mayhem, and obviously teammates help a lot, but you just gotta avoid those wrecks. I know I was looking in my mirror, I seen a couple cars flipping, so I hope everyone's all right.
They are all good. Man, Anthony, you were able to work back there on that final lap. You got hooked up to Doug and were able to push him to the win. But I know you were trying to work through there from fifth and even, see if you could find a way to get to the win yourself. Walk me through the last lap from your point of view and kind of some of the moves you tried to make to get up there, and, you at least got back to the podium by the end of it.
Yeah, well, once I got to the backstretch, I was behind Doug. I'm like, all right, I was like, thought in my head, I said, all right, I'm gonna go with the 43 wherever he goes. And then we got the 4, and I saw him go up, and then I saw Tice start to drift up to try to block. And for a split second there, I almost jetted back down because I thought they were gonna pile up, and I just committed to the 43. I stayed on his bumper as good as I could, and luckily he nudged them out. It was pretty cool. It was a good finish for you guys up there and for the fans for sure.
Man, it was tremendous. It was a lot of fun to watch, and it was definitely a fun night. We're headed to Dover next week, which I know you guys at Boomtown are ready to get back after it. But I know there's a lot of people that go into this. Who makes it happen for Anthony tomorrow?
Check out Pit Stop Designs. I do a lot of cool things, and obviously my teammates. Corbin, Mitch, and Sean. Sean has been tremendous coming on board. I know a couple races in the season we'd made that change, but he's the plate racer out of all of us. If we need any advice for how to qualify or work the draft, we just ask him. He knows what he's doing.
It's been fun to watch. Anthony DeBarro leads the most laps in a dominant performance, comes away Anthony. We'll see you guys at Dover.
See you at Dover.
All right, Brian. Now I'll throw it. I'll throw it over to you here as we've kind of joined forces here down close to the entrance to pit lane. Wild night, fun night, first time winner. And I know it seems like I say this every time we come to Talladega, but could you ask for any more out of this race?
And I think the answer is you really can't, because we had a little bit of everything. We had teammates working together. We had the outside line working. We had 3 wide. We had the big one. We had a first-time winner. We had a lot of excitement. It was everything that you look for when you come to Talladega or when you go to Daytona like we're going to in July. It was just an absolutely incredible night. I'm so excited for Doug Roth. I feel bad for Joseph Tice because he wanted to get that win just as badly, but just a storybook ending for Doug Roth. He's been a part of this league for a very long time, and to see him finally get that first Full Throttle Cup Series victory, that is just awesome. I'm so glad I got to be here for it, and I hope he gets to enjoy that yet again. I'm sure he's looking forward to getting back to victory lane again, and who knows, maybe this victory here tonight will propel them to bigger and better things. He talked about how that team was steadily growing and steadily getting stronger and steadily getting better, so we could see the first of many for Doug and the first of many for the rest of that entire team. And then shifting gears, looking ahead to Dover next week, that's going to be a wild race. It's completely different from what we saw tonight, but you're going to see a lot of the same type of chaos because of how narrow that track is. And when a wreck happens there, it can be just as big as it was at Talladega because there's nowhere to go. The track is so narrow. The straightaways are so narrow. If something happens, the track is almost instantaneously blocked. So a lot of excitement to look forward to next week at Dover as well.
Yeah, Pedro Mojica was the winner of last year's early summer race at the Dover International Speedway. Mojica not in this year's Full Throttle Cup Series, so we'll see who can tackle the Monster Mile 1 week's time. The Monster Mile 170 from Dover International Speedway, going to be right back here on LSRTV and iRacing Live at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And, you know, like we said, Talladega has a penchant for upsets. We get one tonight courtesy of Doug Roth and HPS Motorsports in a wild night. We do want to congratulate them again and say thanks to the sponsors that help make this broadcast possible. Gary Mercer Trucking has the experience and expertise that your freight deserves, and their specialty is in over-the-road, less-than-load, and full truckload freight services between Ontario, Canada, and all points in the United States. Visit gmercer.com for more information, and the broadcast also is powered by SimVibe by Sim Experience, a premier motion simulator manufacturer with expertise in electronics engineering, manufacturing, and software development, whose products are utilized worldwide in driver homes, simulation centers, and race driver development programs across the country. Visit simexperience.com for more information. That's SIMXPERIENCE.com. And as we come to the end of tonight's broadcast, for Brian Macklin, Cisco Scaramuza down in the production trailer, Evan Pasoko, and all the rest of the staff at LSRTV, I'm Jacob Seelman, reminding you to keep it off the wall until we meet again, and we'll see you back here next time on the web. Congratulations to Doug Roth and HPS Motorsports, 126 starts, first career Full Throttle Cup Series win tonight from Talladega. A reminder that this copyrighted production is presented by the authority of LSRTV LLC and iRacing.com Motorsport Simulations and may not be reproduced or retransmitted, and the accounts and descriptions of this event may not be disseminated or reused in any form without the express written permission of Live Sim Racing TV. For all the fans that tune in each and every night, we hope you've enjoyed tonight's broadcast.